So the very first genre of rock music has to be classic rock. Yeah, classic rock. That one is kind of obvious. Yeah, because it's called classic because those were the bands that like started the whole thing, or are the legends of rock music. Yeah, bands like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Queen. Yeah, those tend to be classic rock bands. Yeah, Bon Jovi. Those are the bands that started from a long time ago and are still very relevant until today. They are part of the classics. Yeah, so classic rock. And then number 2, hard rock. Yeah, so this is now typically where people are like, hey, what is hard rock? I can't listen to hard rock. Yeah, because they don't even understand what the term hard rock means. Hard rock tends to have aggressive guitars, let me just say that, aggressive guitars, but not as heavy as metal. Yeah, so for those of you who think hard rock is metal and it's the same thing, no. No, hard rock is not metal. Metal is much heavier. Yeah, in fact, I'm trying to avoid Wikipedia definitions, and I'm trying to avoid very technical sort of definitions. I'm trying to explain it weirdly, like a regular person would explain without using Wikipedia or anything. Hard rock tends to be bands like Breaking Benjamin. If you know Breaking Benjamin, you know how Breaking Benjamin typically sounds like. Yeah, songs like Diary of Jane, Failure. Yeah, those are not songs that are metal, like, Yeah, so for those people who think hard rock is metal, no. Yeah, as part of hard rock, related to hard rock, this is still related to hard rock. Yeah, we have post-grunge. Now, the difference between post-grunge and hard rock is that hard rock focuses more on like aggressive lyrics and aggressive guitar riffs, but post-grunge tends to focus more on thickness. It's like thickness of the strings and thickness of the guitar riff, where hard rock would be like, yeah, it would be a bit fast-paced and aggressive. Post-grunge is like the guitar riffs are more thick and tend to have a thicker sound, like like that. Post-grunge bands are bands like Chevelle, yeah, Sita. Yeah, those are post-grunge bands. You can even put Nickelback there. They focus more, a lot of their songs focus more on the thickness and not really the fast pace or the aggressiveness. Sometimes hard rock bands do post-grunge, sometimes post-grunge bands do hard rock. And also there's a genre related to hard rock called alternative metal. Yeah, these are still types of rock. Alternative metal. Now, a band that does alternative metal well is Breaking Benjamin. Yeah, so you'll find that a hard rock band can do post-grunge, can do alternative metal. Yeah, and what is alternative metal? Another alternative metal band is Seven Dust. Seven Dust, that's one of my favorites. Yeah, if you want to know an alternative metal band, even Chevelle does alternative metal. Yeah, if you want to know an alternative metal band, they tend to play their guitar riffs like, let me say, like blocks. Like a good example of an alternative metal track from Breaking Benjamin is Close Your Eyes. Yeah, the way those guitar riffs are played, yeah, it sounds like dun, 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 dun. They are playing guitar riffs in like blocks. Yeah, it's a weird explanation, but if you listen carefully, you can understand it. Yeah, even Seven Dust, they play their guitar riffs. It's like soft metal. Let me say that. It's like soft metal. Alternative metal bands typically don't growl. Yeah, they may scream, but they don't growl. If you know Breaking Benjamin, yeah, you know that sound that they have. Hard rock, post-grunge, alternative metal. These three genres are very closely related. You find that bands that do one tend to do the others. Yeah. Next genre would have to be alternative rock. Now this one, alternative rock, is one of the most confused genres in rock, because so many people are like, 21 Pilots is my favorite alternative. It's not. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt 21 Pilots has ever done an alternative rock song. Yeah, 21 Pilots, if you know me, I don't consider 21 Pilots as I don't consider 21 Pilots as a rock band. Yeah, I don't consider 21 Pilots as a rock band. And even if they do rock, I consider it as pop rock. Yeah, but I'll get to that definition. Alternative rock tends to have guitar riffs. Yeah, guitar riffs are like, like yeah. the distortion, but it tends to be soft. So it's like soft hard rock. Let me say it's like soft hard rock. It typically has distortion. Yeah. So for those of you who are listening to 21 Pilots and then the song is like doom, 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 and then you're like, yay, alternative rock. No, that's not alternative rock. That's more pop rock. Yeah. Alternative rock is bands like Lifehouse, Three Doors Down. Yeah, even Foo Fighters, my favorite. Foo Fighters do alternative rock, hard rock, a little bit of post-grunge sometimes. That is actually what alternative rock sounds like. Kings of Leon. Yeah, Kings of Leon is a very good alternative rock band. Alternative rock bands also sometimes tend to do a bit of hard rock, a bit like Nickelback. Yeah. We have punk and pop punk. Yeah, punk and pop punk. What is the difference? Punk tends to be like Green Day. Yeah, Green Day. I'm sure you know how Green Day sounds like. Yeah, and then there's also old school punk bands like the Ramones. Yeah, like the Ramones. What do they tend to have in common? Well, most punk bands tend to have a certain theme in their song. Like old school Green Day tends to have a lot of themes. Old school Green Day, like 90s, 2000s tends to have a lot of themes to do with mental health and also some political. Punk bands also tend to be considered as alternative rock bands sometimes, like Green Day. Green Day can sometimes be considered as punk and also alternative. So what is the difference between punk and pop punk? Pop punk tends to have more melodic voices. The voices tend to be more sweeter, like Paramore, like Tonight Alive. Yeah, even when it's a male vocalist singing, the voice tends to be a bit more, melodic, a bit more melodic. It's not yeah, because a lot of punk bands don't even care about their vocals. That's typically punk. Punk doesn't tend to care. It tends to be very loud and in your face, while pop punk tends to be a bit neater, a bit cleaner, like Paramore. A bit cleaner, a bit neater. A song like Misery Business, very clean. And then also pop punk tends to have a little bit more drumming. It's focused more on the drumming than the guitars. Like there's a song by Blink-182 called Generational Divide. Yeah, if you listen to that song, you can hear the way the drumming is done. It's done very well for a pop punk song. Yeah, it's like it's very fast drumming. Yeah, and pop punk tends to have that a lot, and that's why you always hear people saying, oh, pop punk songs all sound the same. Yeah, it's because they tend to have a certain formula. They tend to have a certain formula that they follow. Now let's go to the others. So we have Christian rock, Skillet, Newsboys. Do I need to explain this one? Christian rock, where they talk about God, their faith. There are very many Christian rock bands. Yeah, I'm going to leave a link here. If you've never checked out one of my videos about Christian rock, I have very many of them. I'm going to leave the link to pop up there. Yeah. Then apart from grunge, post-grunge, we have grunge. What is the difference between post-grunge and grunge? Well, grunge tends to have the same guitars, like okay, not exactly the same. It also tends to focus on guitars like post-grunge, there I said earlier, but grunge tends to have a certain slowness. Yeah, like a good example of a grunge band is Alice in Chains and even Nirvana, but I like using Alice in Chains because Alice in Chains has the perfect tone that I want for grunge. They tend to have a certain slowness in their vocals. Rock requires a lot of listening. Then earlier on I had mentioned pop rock, like I had said 21 Pilots. Some people may say Coldplay is pop rock. Yeah, pop rock isn't really that hard to tell. Yeah, it's guitars that are very soft and they are used for for poppy sound effects in the song itself. Yeah. Then under pop rock we have things like dance rock. Yeah, we have things like dance rock, the kinds of songs that you can dance to like in a party, but they still have like rock elements. It's a bit hard to explain, but I think Adam Lambert is a good example. Another one I had said Coldplay is pop rock. There's also a genre called Britpop. Yeah, Britpop typically, Britpop, British pop rock. Yeah. Then there's a band called Muse. You know them. Yeah, they're also in the same country with Coldplay, UK. In the UK over there. Muse fall under weird genres, like they do something called space rock. Yeah, space rock. if you listen to Muse, they tend to have a lot of sci-fi, science fiction kind of themes, and then they also tend to have like there's some weird electronic Stranger Things kind of electronic kind of sounds in their music. Yeah, space rock. Then there's something called art rock. That's another genre. Art rock. Yeah, art rock typically talks about a specific style done by a specific band in an artistic way. Let me explain it like that. Yeah, but bands that are art rock is like Florence and the Machine. Yeah, Florence and the Machine. They have a specific style that they do their music in that isn't like other bands, because Florence and the Machine is also indie. Yeah, there's a genre called indie. Yeah, so indie rock. Yeah, indie rock. Indie tends to talk about alternative rock bands that are underground or independent. What I mean by underground or independent, it means that they are small bands, they're not very famous, they have a very small budget, or they don't work with a company to help promote their music. Yeah, so indie bands are like Florence and the Machine, Foster the People. Sometimes indie bands become very famous and then they stop being indie and then they become more pop rock, or sometimes they can be considered indie, but indie typically refers to bands that are on the down low and are not very known, like bands like Linkin Park, Uko. Yeah. Speaking of Linkin Park, we have rap rock. Rap rock, that one is kind of explains itself, rapping mixed in with rock. Then we have new metal, which is a genre that Linkin Park does. New metal is a bit hard to describe because it's rock mixed in with rapping elements, but not just rapping, it can also be mixed in with other, let me say, unorthodox types of rock music. Unorthodox music elements that are typically not used in rock. Like Linkin Park use scratches. Yeah. And then also, if you tend to do rock mixed in with some electronic elements, that's also considered sometimes as new metal. Yeah, it's hard to describe new metal, but new metal typically has it's like regular rock mixed in with weird elements of rock. It's a bit hard to explain that one. But new metal bands are like Trapped, Korn, Linkin Park. Then we have Gothic rock. This one is kinda obvious. Gothic rock is just picture Evanescence. Just picture Evanescence. Like darkish lyrics, a bit sad. Sometimes rock bands are not just the sound, but they're also the imagery. Yeah, so Evanescence is like black, or a song like Lithium. Yeah, it's a bit gloomish. And Gothic. Yeah, that one doesn't really need a very intense definition. Yeah. Then there's also industrial rock. Yeah, this one is a bit hard to explain, so I'll just give you examples. Marilyn Manson does industrial rock. Static X, a band called Rob Zombie. Yeah, they tend to have the same style, and if you listen to them, you'll understand what industrial rock is all about. Okay. Then we have progressive rock. Progressive rock. I'm not very versed with this one, but I could say progressive rock is the rock that progresses. I think what it means is progressive rock. It takes its time to build up. Yeah. Some people may say that there's a genre called emo. Emo is more of like a style or a theme, not really a genre, because emo tends to be related to bands that tend to do punk, pop punk, and post-hardcore. Yeah, post-hardcore is more in the metal side, so I won't explain that one. I'm only explaining rock. I'm only explaining the rock genres themselves. All right. There's also soft rock. That one is pretty easy to explain. It's rock that focuses more on the lyrics and not really the guitars or the instruments. Bands like The Script. Yeah, The Script is a very good example of soft rock. And also The Fray. They're soft. They're not too guitar oriented. They more focus on the lyrics. Then there's folk rock and folk rock and indie rock tend to go together hand in hand. You tend to find that indie bands sometimes, you tend to find that some folk bands do indie or are categorized as indie. Folk bands tend to use very weird instruments in their music, things like harmonica, banjo, accordion. Sometimes a good example is Mumford and Sons. Yeah, and then there's also reggae rock. Reggae rock, for those of you who do not know, reggae rock. A good example of a reggae rock band is Skindred. Skindred, they fuse reggae music with rock music. Yeah. Another rock genre would have to be funk rock. Funk rock. That one is kind of easy. It's funk mixed in with rock. A good example is Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers have a lot of funky guitar riffs. Like there's a song called "Suck My Kiss." I really like that song. There the bass line is played. It's like dum 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 dum. Yeah, even their song can't stop. No, it has a lot of funky riffs. That's a good example, Red Hot Chili Peppers, or funk rock. Yeah, there's also electronic rock, where they use a lot of electronic elements in their music. A good example, a band that I really like is Enter Shikari. You can definitely check them out. They have very good electronic rock songs. And then also there's experimental rock. It's typically where it's like art rock. It's a bit like art rock. It's where a band is trying to play in their own style in a way that other bands don't tend to do so. Yeah, and typically experimental rock tends to sound very weird compared to regular rock music. And then there's also garage rock. Garage rock is kind of raw, and it's kind of unprocessed. It's not very clean. I'm sure you heard of the term song demo. Yeah, when a band comes up with songs that are not very clean or well edited or filtered or produced, and they tend to be sometimes very loud and very energetic. Yeah, that's garage. It's not meant to be very clean. It's tend to be loud. It's sort of like punk a bit. A lot of punk bands also tend to start as like garage bands, and typically garage bands perform in a garage. Yeah, that was how they were. That's how the genre mainly was identified in the beginning. And then after that we have rock and roll. Yeah, rock and roll is a genre of rock music. A very good example of rock and roll is AC/DC. Some people may say, oh, AC/DC is classic rock. Yeah, AC/DC is classic rock, but not all classic rock bands are rock and roll bands. Yeah, for example, Metallica is considered as heavy metal and classic rock, but they are not rock and roll. Rock and roll tends to have like a sort of catchy, let me say it, like danceable, groovy kind of roll. Yeah, kind of roll to it. A good example is AC/DC. Since I don't want this video to be like 40 minutes long, I think I'm going to stop there. Those are the most relevant genres of rock in my opinion. If I've missed any, please feel free to go into the comment section below and just tell me which one I missed. I can explain it in like a part 2. Yeah, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned a lot. That was me just weirdly explaining the genres of rock music. All right, I think another genre that may have come to mind maybe is country rock. Yeah, that one is not yet hard to understand. It's country like theme mixed in with rock music. Another relevant one is symphonic rock. Symphonic rock tends to combine opera, like that, opera kind of vocals mixed in with rock. Yeah, sometimes symphonic rock bands do symphonic metal bands like Nightwish, Delane. Thanks so much for watching. If I missed any, drop me a comment in the comment section below. I don't want this video to be very long. You take care and God bless.